Live from Citizen TV, this is Friday Night with Lilian Muli.
Hello there and good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us tonight. Lots coming your way, including how to keep your child safe. Recently, 16 children were rescued from a house in Kayole here in Nairobi County. And tonight we'll be talking to an expert on how you and the community as well can keep the children of this nation safe. Let's take a look at stories making headlines.
I can't learn how to say goodbye to you with weak fingers and pain in my heart. It's unbelievable that today I've learned to stay with our beloved kids without you coming home again.
Na vile mumeona hata katika kifo yake dunia mzima imeungana kwa sababu ya kijana huyu Kelvin.
From dust to dust, President Ruto leads Kenyans in bidding farewell to fallen marathon world record holder Kelvin Kiptum. A construction marathon, how builders put up a house for Kiptum in 6 days flat. Terror in the village. 3 people killed in renewed clashes between 2 clans in Transmara. I own up to the passport backlog. CS Kindiki pleads for more time to resolve processing delays. Welcome once again. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Belinda Adhiambo. Friday night starts now, and President William Ruto led thousands of mourners in bidding the final farewell to world marathoner Kelvin Kiptum in Elgeyo-Marakwet County. President Ruto eulogized the late Kiptum as a hard-working man who ensured that Kenya's star on the global map in athletics continued shining. Kiptum's widow, Asenath Rotich, termed her late husband as a family man who dedicated his time to his children and always had a father figure. Stephen Leto reports.
A somber mood engulfed Okeyo South and Nairobi, Uasin Gishu County, as the late Kelvin Kiptum made his final run on earth. For the short life he lived, 24-year-old Kiptum left behind an indelible mark. Family members, relatives and friends united in pain and pride, sending off one of their own, a man who conquered the world in long-distance races, breaking the world record. And here, on his final journey, there was one more outpouring of grief, but there was also a celebration of his life, a chance to remember some of those glorious moments. His widow, Asenath Rotich, could not hold back her tears as she paid glowing tribute to her husband.
My dear love, I can't learn how to say goodbye to you with weak fingers and pain in my heart. It's unbelievable that today I've learned to stay with our beloved kids without you coming home again. I mourn my love. Have cried until no more. I'll miss you and your love of my life forever until we meet again.
The widow revealed that they were to wed in April this year, a dream that has been shattered.
We have been planning for a big day to tie our knots in colorful wedding ceremony in April 2024. But God's plans are greater.
President Ruto pointing out that despite coming from a humble background, the late Kiptum shone Kenya's star on the global map.
Hata katika kifo yake dunia mzima imeungana kwa sababu ya kijana huyu Kelvin. And therefore we've come here as friends, as family, as leaders to condole with the family on the demise of this great Kenyan.
The head of state, who led thousands of mourners in bidding the celebrated marathon a final goodbye, used the opportunity to outline the government's plans to improve sports in the country, including building a new stadium and completion of constructions that are underway.
Najua mumeuliza hapa Chepkorio tuweze kutengeneza hii kiwanja. Hii kiwanja tutatengeneza. Kiwanja ya Kamarin tutatengeneza. Kiwanja ya Iten tutatengeneza. Ile ya Eldoret tutatengeneza. Hizo zote. Kwa sababu sasa ile pesa ilikuwa inatumika kwa mambo mengine tumeyaondoa katika budget yetu ya mwaka huu. We will only have matters sports.
To actualize the stadium promise, President Ruto says the executive, through the Ministry of Sports, will present a bill in Parliament seeking to introduce amendments to the Sports Fund Act to unlock funds to be used strictly for improving sports facilities in Kenya.
I am going to tell members of Parliament we are bringing the Sports Fund law to Parliament so that we can amend to eliminate all the other things that were inadvertently put, that is compromising the fund in matters funding sports.
You have provided a strong, peaceful and stable and secure environment for these young people to be able to showcase their talent.
Leaders who attended the burial ceremony asked the government to set up a fully fledged sports academy to help nurture young athletic talent.
Ingewezekana tupate kama shule ambayo hao wanariadha wanakaa. Na nikaambia waziri wetu tukuwe na sports academy kutoka primary mpaka secondary ndio ichunge wale wadogo.
And Your Excellency, there is no problem if we can absorb these world athletes once they win their medals in the world. There's no problem to take them to government parastatals to become brand ambassadors and get them a job, Your Excellency.
The late Kiptum's body was laid to rest few minutes before 5 p.m. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
The doping menace in the country was one of the key concerns during the funeral service of the world record holder Kelvin Kiptum. A section of leaders sounding a collective concern with President William Ruto, making a commitment of 750 million shillings yearly to world athletics to deal with the doping crisis in the country. In the year 2022, Kenya faced the risk of an athletics ban after the country was hit by a number of doping cases. Ben Kirui has the details.
The funeral of world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum served as a moment for the leaders present to caution athletes against the doping violations that have tarnished the country's image in the world of athletics. President William Ruto recalling a moment in 2022 when the country faced the threat of being banned.
We were candidates for being banned for matters doping. And it took us as an administration. I remember sending Ababu Namwamba, and we had to engage our friend Sebastian Coe.
The president, while urging athletes to keep away from activities that can ruin their careers, emphasized the importance of talent and reputation.
Wanariadha wetu, mumejaliwa na Mungu. Bidii yenu imewafikisha mbali. Musikubali mambo haya ya madawa ya haribu talanta zenu na ya haribu sifa yenu kama wanariadha wa taifa letu la Kenya.
Kiptum had already become a champion in our anti-doping agenda, our absolute zero tolerance to doping, our message of running and winning clean. And indeed, when his record was ratified only a couple of weeks ago by World Athletics, we applauded because he then symbolized that indeed you can run, you can win, and you can shatter world records without doping.
The president further revealed measures put in place to preserve the country's reputation as a world giant in athletics, including a commitment of 750 million shillings yearly to the World Athletics.
And I have made a commitment that every year we are going to have $5 million as we committed to World Athletics to make sure that we deal with the problem of doping in Kenya.
Other leaders joined the president in sounding concerns surrounding doping in the country. Nandi Governor Stephen Sang calling for the collective punishment of athletes as well as the perpetrators of doping.
The threat to athletics in Kenya today is this challenge of doping. And I want to make it clear, Your Excellency, part of the reason why we have not won the war against doping is because the program and the fight against doping is skewed against athletes, leaving out the other stakeholders. Your Excellency, how do you punish an athlete by banning them for 4 years or 8 years, while those who may have participated in the process of introducing them to that mess are allowed to walk free and they will be available to defile and mess up the lives of other athletes?
In January 2023, Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, ADAK, published a list of 20 sportsmen and women they had provisionally suspended for various doping violations. They include 100-meter sprinter Samuel Meta, 2021 World Under 23,000-meter silver medalist Zena Jemutai, Africa 800-meter champion Jarinta Mawia, distance runners Bernard Cheruiyot Chepkwony, Victor Koskei, Cynthia Kendi, Collins Koros, Eric Kipto, John Kariuki Gekonyo, Stephen Kipchirchir Kiplagat, and Amos Kiprotich. In December 2016, World Anti-Doping Agency's Intelligence and Investigations Department, together with the International Association of Athletics Federations Athlete Integrity Unit, launched a project to examine the doping practices of Kenyan athletes. The findings were that between 2004 and August 2018, a total of 138 Kenyan athletes from all sports had tested positive for prohibited substances. Ben Kirui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Now, in a record 6 days, a modern house was put up at the late marathoner Kelvin Kiptum's home in Nairobi, Uasin Gishu County. The construction of the 7 million shillings 3-bedroomed house came following a directive by President William Ruto as a way of paying tribute to the athletics giant who died in an accident. Safina Chieng Oma gives you an inside look into the house, which was constructed using modern prefabricated technology and handed over officially to the family.
Last week, President William Ruto directed a contractor to ensure that a pair of houses is built for the family of the late athlete Kelvin Kiptum ahead of his burial. The construction, which kicked off on Friday, was expected to be completed by this week Friday. A week later, a state-of-the-art house had been erected at Kiptum's farm in Nairobi in Uasin Gishu County, painted in a light cream tint, bringing in the required brightness. As you enter, you see an elegant living room with stylish wallpapers, unique decorations, and a cozy furniture, perfect for a home befitting a hero, Kelvin Kiptum, who unfortunately didn't live long enough to enjoy his rest here after the long and torturous marathons. The house, which will now be occupied by his family, has 3 graceful and fancy bedrooms, all master en suite. The house was officially handed over to the family, with residents and Kenyans at large still in awe at how this was achieved in slightly less than a week.
It's been 7 long nights. At some point, just like the many Kenyans who are trolling it, of course I got a lot of messages and I got a lot of photos sent to me. And at some point I was also a bit worried whether the end product will actually turn out to be this good. But I'm very happy.
The contractor adopted modern precast or prefabricated technology in the construction of the house at a cost of 7 million shillings.
It is something that we're very proud of. This technology is not fairly new. It's been here, but it's not been really gained a lot of traction. We also have discovered something because, sometimes you have emergency housing. This is one of the technologies that we can be able to champion. And the other technology that we're also pushing a lot, especially in the rural areas where people want to build sort of this kind of standalone housing that does not require to go up, because land is not a bit of an issue here.
In terms of durability, nyumba yangu tayari iko 10 years. Same technology used in other parts of the world. Tayari iko zaidi ya miaka 50, New Zealand, South Africa, kadhalika. America wanatumia hii technology because mbao ni bei kali kule, wana replace mbao na chuma.
This happening even as athletes' speeches express the welfare concerns many have.
We request to be given even security. The loss we have encountered in Kiptum, it's so huge to the country and the world. But if we had security at that time, or a driver, we don't know the life of someone, but maybe we could have saved him.
Javelin star Isaac Yego asked President William Ruto to build a sports training facility in honor of the late Kiptum.
Mr. President, these athletes are requesting just a little recognition and support. Across the North Rift, the 3 counties calling themselves in pride of our athletes, unfortunately there is no training facility that can be used by our athletes.
Safin Acheng Oma, Citizen TV.
And away from Kelvin Kiptum's burial, a National Police reservist has died, while 2 others have been injured following a bandit attack in Nosukuru, Baringo North. Among those who were injured is the deputy head teacher, Nosukuru Primary School, and a boda rider. The 3 were attacked as they headed to their homes. The police reservist was shot in the chest and his gun stolen by the bandits. The attack comes a day after a 59-year-old was killed in Yatia, Baringo North. The series of attacks has caused panic among pupils, and 5 schools in Baringo North, Kosile, Ngaratuko, Kibenos, Kagir, and Yatia have been closed.
Nkararo border continues to claim more lives. Emotions were high on Friday morning in Enoretet village.
Right, and let's take that story once again. Apologies for that. All right, let's move on now. And 3 people have died in renewed clashes in Transmara West along the Enoretet-Nkararo border on Friday morning. 3 houses and sugarcane farms were also torched as the fighting escalated.
The rising insecurity along the Enoretet-Nkararo border continues to claim more lives. Emotions were high on Friday morning in Enoretet village as this family mourned their kin, who was among the 3 killed Friday. The area is still volatile. Vast tracts of land and houses were torched.
Wakakuja na matiagas na mabunduki, wakatufukusa kwa maboma, wakachoma manyumba. Hata saizi tunahangaika, tunaishi tuko tu mabarabara, tunakaa na watoto wajaenda shule, wametuchomea manyumba.
Wakati ambao umekuja juzi hapa, hii vita ikaenda ikaisha kidogo. Sasa hii vita imerudi. Tunaomba tu serikali yetu mkuje mtoa amani. Gavana wetu tunaomba ukuje mpaka hii kiwasekana kesho mkuje mtoa amani.
Tension remains high along the Nkararo side where 2 people were killed.
Kama basi hii vita itaendelea hivi, itakuwa sasa serikali haiwezi kutujali sisi tukiwa nyumba ya Syria.
Ng'ombe yetu imepikwa mshali, mboga bome imefyagwa, chakula ya watoto yetu imenini, watoto inasumbuka sai.
Security teams are on ground to patrol the area and restore sanity. The number of those injured remains unknown. Speaking at Parliament buildings, Narok Senator Ledama Lekina called for investigations into the escalation that has brought on board the use of firearms.
And I want to call upon the Interior Ministry to please move there and restore peace. The Syria Masais and the Western Gishu Masais, I represent them. I do not have one that I can be able to say are the ones who are in the wrong and the other ones are in the right. Both of them are in the wrong. Whoever gave them ammunitions must be taken to task. Whoever is inciting them must also be taken to task. We know that there are few politicians who will not have peace, who will not be happy if people are not fighting.
The side of the Uasin Gishu, there was one youth. Then while patrolling the other side of Transmara South, that is the Moita and the Ngararo, we also got information there were 2 fatalities.
It has been 7 months since Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki held a peace meeting with residents along the Enoretet-Nkararo border. But the violence continues. Residents want a lasting solution to restore peace. Maria Nyambura, Citizen TV.
And a National Police reservist has died while 2 others have been injured following a bandit attack in Nosokuro, Baringo North. Among those who were injured is the deputy head teacher, Nosokuro Primary School, and a boda rider. The 3 were attacked as they headed to their homes. The police reservist was shot in the chest and his gun stolen by the bandits. The attack comes a day after a 59-year-old was killed in Nyatia, Baringo North. The series of attacks has caused panic among pupils, and 5 schools in Baringo North, Kosile, Garatuko, Kibenos, Kagir, and Nyatia have been closed.
Hata watu na uwawa mpaka hata kabla kutoa ile mwili kwa moshari na ongezwe ingine. Naambia county commissioner, hebu jaribu kuamka kama chairman wa peace wa Baringo County na serikali yako yote na ufanye mkakati ya kufanya watu waishi makwao. Yaani ile representation ambayo tulichaguliwa kufanya sasa imekuwa ni kusafirisha wagonjwa na kusafirisha maiti. Kazi yetu kwa Baringo imekuwa ni hiyo. Hii nchi yetu imerudi kwa nini?
State House Controller Kato Olemetito has defended the allocation of 1.5 million shillings for refurbishment of State House and state lodges for the financial year 2024-2025. While presenting his budget policy statement before the National Assembly Security and Administration Committee, Olemetito stated that renovation works for Nairobi and Nakuru State House were long overdue since a major uplift on the presidential residences was conducted a long time ago, and that an extra 6.2 billion shillings is needed to complete the refurbishment process.
Therefore, there is a likelihood that we may not achieve the planned target due to the underfunding of 6.9 billion as shown in the table 2 below. We are on page 6. So where in the table you will see the recurrent and the development showing the resource requirement totaling 16.2, but you will see the BPS allocation coming to 9.2 and a deficit of 6.9. The PS has committed that we need to.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki has owned up to the incessant passport issuance process delays by the Immigration Department, asking Kenyans to be a little bit patient as the government looks for a permanent solution. Kindiki, who met Treasury Cabinet Secretary Njuguna Ndung'u and senior immigration officers in his office, said the Immigration Department would be subjected to fresh scrutiny with a view to clearing out corrupt officials. Emily Chebet with the details.
The long and agonizing wait for passports for thousands of Kenyans is not new. Nyayo House, the center of frustrations and nightmares. Attempts to clean up the mess since last year by Interior Cabinet Secretary Professor Kithure Kindiki have yielded little fruit at Nyayo House. The CS is appealing for patience from Kenyans. In a statement, the Interior CS acknowledged that it is every Kenyan's right to acquire citizenship documents, including travelling documents, adding that the long wait for the crucial documents by thousands of Kenyans is inexcusable. Kindiki met his counterpart from Treasury Njuguna Ndung'u in a bid to lobby resources for the department, with 160,000 passport booklets expected next week. He also met senior officials from the Immigration Department, where a fresh crackdown is underway to clear out corruption officials. reports indicating that some Kenyans have had to wait for close to 1 year to access the crucial document. In his statement, CS Kindiki owned up the Nyayo House menace that has frustrated Kenyans, leading to loss of job opportunities abroad, with others missing out on critical medical care and even education opportunities. In August last year, CS Kindiki promised to clear the then backlog, a move that went on for few months before Kenyans went back to the same problems of lack of booklets and breakdown of printing machine.
That in 10 days from now, there will be no single backlog matter on passports. We will deliver as promised. And once the backlog is completely removed, we will stick to the directive that I gave in February, which is every applicant of a passport must receive it within 7 working days. And if it is an emergency, they must receive their document, their passport, within 24 hours.
Today's statement from the Interior CS comes a week after government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura said the passport delays are as a result of shortage in supply of the 34-page booklets. Meanwhile, the High Court of Kenya has lifted an order stopping the rollout of the new generation national identity card, also known as Maisha Card. Justice John Chigiti set aside an order he issued in December 2023 that had stopped the registration and issuance of the digital identity cards and further directed that the matter be transferred to the Constitutional Human Rights Division for hearing and determination. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
On the story by Michael Kenyi, and athletes from the Greater Rift Valley region put aside their spikes and running shoes on Friday to bid farewell to one of their own, the late world marathon record holder Kelvin Kiptum. Let's listen in.
For a marathoner that set a record in every course he ran, this was his last run, a slow run escorted by the people he spent a lot of time with. The pallbearers were all athletes, both field and track, as well as road runners. Kelvin Kiptum's death brought together the whole athletics world, with representatives from World Athletics, his sponsors Nike, as well as his rivals on the road, but good friends of athletics, athletes from Ethiopia. They all painted a glowing tribute to the fallen hero.
You were a kind, humble, and charismatic young man who left a great impression on anyone you met.
At only 24 years of age, Kelvin Kiptum was a generational athlete. In our short time together, Kelvin became an immediate and impactful member of the Nike family, bettering the sport and our Nike brand forever.
Kiptum was just starting off in his marathon career, and speaker after speaker shared the marathon plan they had discussed with the late Kiptum.
We in Athletics Kenya selected a team of male and female marathoners to represent Kenya during the Paris Olympic Games in France later this year, and his name was on top of that list.
I'll never forget the chills he gave me as he crossed the finish line, setting the world record at the Chicago Marathon. And I quote, "I have still yet to feel pain in any marathon."
Lord Sebastian Coe, the World Athletics president, represented the organization at Kiptums Funeral. World Athletics had just ratified Kiptum's world record of 2 hours and 35 seconds set in Chicago in October of 2023.
Kelvin, you will be missed. Our grief and sadness will take time to dissipate. Rest assured, your achievements are treasured, indelible, and secure in the annals of our history and never ever forgotten. May you rest in peace.
The athletics world was looking forward to Kiptum running at the Rotterdam Marathon in April, where he was to attempt a new world record of sub 2 hours. That was to be followed by the Paris Olympic Games in August, where he was a sure bet for a medal for Team Kenya.
Paris 2024 Olympics will be special for Team Kenya because all the leaders at the funeral of Kelvin Kiptum have asked the athletes to go and win for Kelvin Kiptum, because one of the things he really wanted to do was win an Olympic gold medal for Team Kenya.
As we are heading to the Olympic Games in Paris, the only thing, and I'm requesting our sportsmen that they are going to be part and parcel of this team, that the only tribute we are going to give to our brother, our champion, our legend, Kiptum, is to make sure that when we go to Paris, every medal that we will be participating in, we make sure we get.
Na kwa hivyo tunaomba wale wanariadha wote ambaye wataenda Olympics to honor this great son here by carrying our flag high and shattering many other world records.
Paris is going to be the Olympics that is going to define this man, Kelvin. We want you to make Paris an Olympics of Kelvin Kiptum. Mutusaidie na tunajua mko na uwezo.
For Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba, Kiptum was more than just an athlete and a friend. He says Kiptum was almost like family and he had high hopes in the young athlete.
Ninaposema kwaheri to a boy who has been like a son to me, a boy who really I had a lot of faith in. I was looking forward to Kiptum shattering the 2-hour ceiling in the marathon and for him to take a bow in the Olympics this summer in Paris. As I say, kwaheri, nasema pole sana na tutasimama na family.
President William Ruto also took the opportunity to call on athletes to examine their lifestyles in order to live a better life.
And we all need to be mindful of our lifestyles so that we can avoid instances like this, that in a very young age, a very promising, good Kenyan has lost his life.
His funeral service was held at the Chepkorio showground, not very far from where he trained for many days prior to his races. Chepkorio is high altitude at 2,500 meters above sea level. The weather can be punishing.
And high altitude comes with a strong wind and a chill.
Kwa sababu hii baridi vile inaendelea, hata wewe rais ukija nimekuomba ufupishe pia.
Hii mahali ni baridi. Tuseme ukweli. Hata huyu Rigiji ameniambia siku ile nakuja tena hapa nimwambie ndiye asikuje.
And just like they brought him into the grounds, his fellow athletes escorted him out for burial at his farm in Nairobi. Michael Kinyi for Citizen TV in Chepkorio, KO South.
Rest in peace, Kiptum. Treasury Cabinet Secretary Professor Njuguna Ndung'u has denied assertions from the Council of Governors that the executive is plotting to kill devolution. Professor Ndung'u, while appearing before the Senate Committee on Finance and Budget, was questioned on why the State Department for Public Works is delaying construction of 5 county headquarters more than a decade after devolution took effect.
The proposed 391.1 proposed in the budget policy statement is only marginal increase of, about 6 billion or thereabout. Now, considering all other variables, looking at the impact of the housing levy in terms of cost, the increase in NHIF, NSSF. The
realistic picture of the capacity of the economy to afford is actually taken into account. We have looked at all the parameters. What is the growth trajectory? We have to have these fundamental principles working, because even us, in terms of programming growth for the economy, in terms of budgeting, there is a procedure and there is informed by information that is available to us.
In this scenario, our ask as governors is to divorce ourselves from public works. We do not need any estimates from them. We don't need any figures from them, because most of the contracts here were conceived by the county governments. So was yours. The complication in the whole of this equation is introduction of a middleman in this transaction, which is Public Works.
Thank you very much, Honorable CS. Mine, I have only 3.
Police recently raided a house in Kayole, Nairobi, and rescued 16 children. The children were aged between 2 and 16 years. When a child goes missing, the burden of uncertainty the parent or guardian carries of the whereabouts of their child is the deepest emotional torment. No family should have to deal with the trauma of a missing child alone. Apart from offering psychosocial support to such parents, the Missing Child Kenya Foundation, a Kenyan aid group, focuses on locating missing children using forensic image technology to locate missing children. These were the scenes in Kayole, Nairobi County, when 16 children were rescued from a house where they had been detained. Little children, some as young as 2 years old, frightened, scampering for safety as they boarded the police Land Cruiser that would take them away from this place.
It takes a village to raise a child. Sadly, we are losing some of these tenets and becoming very individualistic, and so we forget how to look out for one another. There are important questions that we should ask each other. If these children were in that environment, did the neighbors see? Why was no one reporting? And so community participation and engagement, reporting when you see something is very, very important, because it helps to bring certain things to light, and also it brings about justice.
The untold agony of parents and guardians across the country on receiving this news. Many reached out to Missing Child Kenya Foundation to find out if their missing child might have been among those found.
Families of missing children encounter what is called in psychology an ambiguous loss. They do not have closure. They do not have what is tangible evidence to explain the missing of their relative. And so you will find that they have a lot of baggage and emotional burdens that they are carrying. The siblings of these children, how are we handling to assist them to process the loss of their brothers and sisters going missing? The friends, classmates, like what is a teacher's role in the classroom to say, today Mariana is still not back with us and she's missing. Let us pray maybe for her family. Let us remember 1, 2, 3 things. So we tend to focus so much on the search, and then we forget the gaps of the mental anguish that they are going through.
When a child goes missing, the first 48 hours are crucial in terms of forensic evidence that can be used to trace the missing child.
Families do not know what to do until a child goes missing, or where to go, or which services to seek for. So we are available to give information as a resource. The other thing is families of missing children encounter a lot of financial difficulties because, for example, you're in Nairobi and you want to look for your child all over the country and even outside of the country. So we have instituted certain help mechanisms to assist in this. First, we have a toll-free line that is available. Anyone can call from all over the country. This removes the burden of calling airtime for families. The other thing is we have online platforms where people are also able to reach us remotely. So if you're in, for example, Kisii, and your child is missing, you do not need to spend fare to come to Nairobi. You can reach us remotely through all the online platforms that we have, and we'll be able to assist.
The main challenge around issues to do with missing children in the country remains the lack of accurate data.
There is data on missing children, but it is in very many different silos. It is with probably some pockets are with law enforcement, some pockets are with government agencies that deal with missing children, some pockets are with non-profit agencies like mine and other organizations, or even community organizations that are dealing with children. So to consolidate that data is the biggest obstacle, because we need to bring all this data to one place. Then we can be able to look at it and say these are the actual live numbers.
Underreporting or no reporting is also a major challenge. There are people who have never reported their children as missing. Nairobi leads in the cases of missing children. Incidents where children have gone missing include child trafficking, where a person who is not the child's family member takes the child forcefully or by coercion and detains them. Custodial battles between parents due to divorce, which may lead to one parent kidnapping supporting the child may be lost while wandering. They may be runaways, especially for teenagers, or it may be a case of truancy, among others.
Platforms for reporting are there with the police, with even the government has a child helpline. Missing Child Kenya has access to services where you can also be able to make a report. So the more we talk and educate one another, we'll be able to see how to support and prevent such things from recurring.
According to Missing Child Kenya Foundation, missing children cases increase over the evening time. Educating communities will ensure people are more proactive than reactive and ultimately reduce cases of missing children and adverse situations around children.
Policy and legislature. We need to have model frameworks or rules or guidelines that help everyone, the collaborative functions of state and people and even the non-profit sector, that will help us know everybody when a child goes missing or when there's an adverse situation around a child. These are the 5 steps everyone takes, and then we'll all be in sync, and when we collaborate, we'll solve these cases faster.
Sleuths involved in tracking missing children advise parents to reassure their children that their safety is their number one concern. Set boundaries about places they may go, people they may see, and things they may do. Teach your child to recite your phone number together with that of your spouse. Caution your young one against wandering off to isolated places or speaking to strangers. Also, carry out a background check on new employees in your home. Thank you, Mariana, for speaking to Citizen TV. Elsewhere, secondary schools across the country have been asked to make sure that the Board of Management members come from the area in a bid to lower costs in school. Speaking during the Education Day at Chepsaita Primary School, Tarbo constituency, President William Ruto's personal assistant Farouk Kibet said schools are spending huge sums of money to cater for traveling expenses of board members, and yet they could use the SAID funds to improve the infrastructure and day-to-day activities of the institutions. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu and Principal Secretary Belio Kipsang, on their part, assured parents that the government is committed to improve infrastructure and employ more teachers in secondary schools.
Tunaambiwa wao ambao wanasimamia mashule sasa imekuwa gharama imeenda juu. Kwa sababu mwingine akitoka Nairobi lazima akatiwe ndege, apate mahali pa kulala, na hata sometimes nasikia anapewa allowance ambayo inazidi kusimamia shule. Kwa hivyo ningekuuliza, jambo la kwanza, wacha mashule isimamiwe na wenyeji wa sehemu hiyo.
Karibu 32% of the total government revenue inatumika kwa mambo ya masomo. Sababu yake ni kwamba serikali najua, Mheshimiwa Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya najua ya kwamba hatuwezi kuendelea na kutimisha ile malengo ambayo tunataka kutimisha kama nchi isipokuwa kupitia kwa elimu. Ndio mnaona hii mwaka ambayo tunazungumza sasa, ile ambayo serikali imetoa pesa ya elimu ni 650 bilioni.
When we invest in these young ones, we are investing in the future. Sasa sisi watu ya hapa Uasin Gishu, mimi nikikuwa mmoja wenu, lazima tufanye hiyo investment.
And Rosalina Chebi from Mogotio in Baringo County has emerged the winner of this week's Shabiki midweek jackpot bonus, pocketing 221,890 shillings. Rosalina predicted 11 out of 13 matches correctly. The 57-year-old said she will use the money to pay her children's school fees and hopes to win the grand prize of 2 million shillings in future. To stand a chance of winning huge amounts of money, visit shabiki.com and become the next lucky winner.
Umeniambia unafanyanga shughuli gani nyumbani?
Kuchuna kuni na kuuza ama kufua. Ndio.
Sasa hao wenye wanachunianga kuni sasa kidogo biashara yao itabidi wamengojea.
Sasa nitafunguza hayo. Nianze mradi sasa.
Wengine wakingojea end month, wale wajanja wanangojeaga midweek. Yo midweek ni ya Shabiki pekee. Sasa imefika 2 million. All right? Enda kwenye www.shabiki.com Ingia hapo kwenye jackpot, angalia midweek jackpot, wekelea. Game ni 13 pekee. Very easy games kutoka top leagues. Sawa, unawekelea, unategea. Tunapatana hapa, tunakujenga pesa yako.
Let's talk business. And the Kenya Power and Lighting Company has recorded 319 million net earnings for the half year ending December 2023. The utility company says a strong performance in revenue helped it turn the tide from a net loss of 1.1 billion shillings in the previous quarter. As Jimmy Mbogo now reports, a volatile shilling, however, remains a key headache for the company, which says its foreign exchange impact grew by 11 billion shillings in the same quarter.
Power and Lighting Company was forced to spend a total of 1.7 billion shillings more in the half year ending December 2023, raising the company's total expenditure to 19.7 billion shillings. The extra spending by the utility company was largely due to an increase in staff costs following the onboarding of new staff to reinforce field operations, which the company says helped to enhance overall operation efficiency and improve service delivery to customers.
I think you are all familiar with the kind of year it was in terms of the exchange rates at the beginning, where we had challenges even in hydrology.
Operating cost, we had an increase of about 1.7 billion shillings, and this was driven mainly by, we have the wheeling charge, which was increased during the last tariff review, and that was to really provide revenues for Ketraco to operate and maintain the expanded transmission network, especially in the addition of the new transmission lines, including the one from Ethiopia.
Revenue from electricity sales increased by 31% from 86.6 billion shillings to 113.5 billion shillings, pushing the company back to profitability. The utility company registered a 319 million shillings profit in the half year. KPLC's finance cost also increased by 7.6 billion shillings, up from 7.3 billion shillings incurred in a comparable period the previous year to 15.02 billion shillings this year. KPLC notes that the increase is attributed to the rise in unrealized foreign exchange losses on loan revaluation, a consequence of the weakening of the Kenya shilling against major foreign currencies in which most of the loan portfolio is denominated.
We have a loan portfolio that is about 90% in foreign currency. This includes about 75% of that loan is on-lent loan from government, from the development DFIs. And so the revaluation of this, as at June, when we closed the year, the dollar was at 140. When we are revaluing, as at December, the reporting period, we revalue at 156. That's about 16 or thereabout shillings on the loan portfolio. Hence the significant impact of 11 billion shillings that has hit our bottom line.
To minimize its cost, KPLC says it has embarked on several strategies, including bolstering sales, enhancing system efficiency, enhancing customer experience, and increasing connectivity across the country. Jimmy Mbogo, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The government will soon introduce free gas cylinders for low-income earners. Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Churchill says the government, through his ministry, plans to distribute 4.5 million gas cylinders with the capacities between 1 kilogram to 3 kilograms to grow the use of liquefied petroleum gas across the country.
To launch free gas cylinders to low-income earners, with the only associated cost being the refill cost. This move comes in response to the government's recognition of the prohibitive initial cost of purchasing conventional gas cylinders, identified as a hindrance to the widespread adoption of LPG. These cylinders are expected to stand out in the market due to their smaller capacity, ensuring a more affordable refill cost.
The point here is to remove the cost of entry for our people who go to the mjengo, and therefore be able to have a cylinder to be able to buy gas at 1 kilo, 2 kilo, 3 kilo. And therefore this is not cylinders at the 13 kilograms that you can afford, I can afford. We want to ensure that there is a cylinder for everybody who lives below the line, so that using LPG should not be an impediment on account of not having a cylinder.
This is not the first time the government has tried to make LPG accessible to low-income earners. In 2016, the Ministry of Energy launched the Mwananchi Gas Project. The project entailed a supply and distribution of LPG cylinders, grills and burners to households at subsidized prices. That was not successful.
A lot of those cylinders were 6 kilograms. It was not going to the people living below the line. And so we'll take the lessons we learned on Mwananchi Gas and use it to support the new growth strategy for the people living below the line.
The CS further says that the government is looking to bring down the cost of gas through market-driven pricing. This would mean that the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority would be able to determine the maximum retail prices for LPG like it does fuel.
We are working on price discovery through the open tender regulations that we are going to put in place, because we've been to cabinet and we have got approval to do a price discovery so that we can bring down the price of gas, not only on account of what government has done in removing the taxes on LPG, but also on account of ensuring that we are selling LPG for the right price.
Jasmine Wambui, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
The Kenya Revenue Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards, and the Kenya Ports Authority are set to work on a multi-agency approach to decongest the port. This comes following a directive by the President for the three agencies to find a lasting solution for the congestion at the Kenyan port. The three agencies that addressed a joint press conference say that they have agreed to hold joint board meetings quarterly to track the progress. The three state agencies have further agreed to integrate their information technology system for seamless operation, even as they're set to begin work on a pre-arrival system that will ensure faster and smoother clearance of goods. The three CEOs have also been tasked to come up with ways of ensuring that disputes are resolved out of court.
Might have to be re-exported back to where it came from, just depending on conditions and circumstances. Some of that cargo is condemned and is due for destruction. So not all of a state cargo that we have at the port would necessarily translate to revenue.
Some cargo are being rerouted to Dar es Salaam. I want to allay that fear and to say that as the port of Mombasa, we're very efficient. And I can even tell you, in the month of January, we handled the highest volumes of cargo ever before, registering over 162,000 TEUs in 1 month.
Insurance stakeholders have expressed optimism despite the harsh economic times, saying the industry has recorded a 10% growth in the last 3 years. Speaking in Mombasa during this year's Insurance Open Day, Direct Line Insurance Company Mombasa branch manager Kenneth Mwangi said this attributed to the efforts made to create awareness about insurance among Kenyans and diversification of products in the sector. Insurance Regulatory Authority on their part have warned fake insurance brokers that stringent measures will be taken on their firms, urging insurance companies to keep their promises and deliver to their clients. The authority also says it will publish names of all fake insurance brokers next week in order to curb the menace.
I believe Kenyans are learning, and there's a big uptick. We have noticed a big uptick in our products. We have grown. We started about 2 years ago doing the non-motor, and I can attest that for the last 2 years we have seen a lot of growth. Mombasa itself, we have been received very warmly. Most of the intermediaries are taking us seriously now as a non-motor company, and we are headed places. And we foresee us taking us a big percentage of the market in the near future.
If we also find that you are doing unethical practices, we will de-license you, de-register you. We will also put those people who we have deregistered and degazetted next week, either a broker or insurance agents. What we want to encourage insurance players to do is to sell products, be more professional, and make sure that whatever they promise is what they deliver. The last 2 years, we've seen increased professionalism and proper underwriting. Though it is not at the level where we want it to be, but we have seen an improvement. We have seen a shift to better underwriting practices in the market. We have seen better
Pension industry stakeholders in the country have backed the amendments made to the retirement benefits regulations. Speaking during a forum by NWealth Financial Services, the stakeholders in particular noted the introduction of income drawdown regulations, which will streamline the management of the funds and secure retirees in the long term. Income drawdown funds are funds established to reinvest retirement benefits for retirees to provide regular pension income. The implication of the regulatory changes on bond valuations was the other legal change discussed during the meeting.
In this particular case, we have had the conversation, and especially on the current practice of holding our bonds to maturity, first to be able to ensure that they are able to go home with a positive income in their retirement. In this particular case, it's just looking at the practice in terms of where you have again an all loss from the government bonds is then the practice in terms of how do we handle the reserve that has been set aside for members who are retiring.
For any unrealized gains and losses that will be generated from investments in debt instruments, those will not be form part and parcel of the accumulated benefits that will be allocated to members, and that disclosure is required to be made by trustees when they prepare their financial statements at the end of the financial year, and that statement they usually share it with members in an AGM.